Ranks.
Adjust the ranks.
What is up? Welcome into Adjust the Ranks. I'm Jeremy Schulman at Adjust the Ranks at FF_Rebel. We are here with Jesse Muller at JMuller05 on Twitter. The perfect game, ready to go here to do a Fantasy Pros perfect draft. We're going to do it live on the clock, as the kids like to say. Hopefully not all the kids, but maybe some of the kids like to say, raw dogging a perfect draft. Let's go ahead and get into it. But first, Jesse, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, enjoying life, living the off-season dream where we start getting ready for the rookies and all the fun stuff. But before we focus on all that, we're gonna have a little fun doing this 2024 edition in 2025. So I'm looking forward to seeing how good we can go at chasing perfection, because I hope we can get there. I hope.
So right now, we're going to pull it up in case you don't know. And let's see if I can. We have it in. All right, here we go. So we've got the perfect draft set up here. As you can see, it is half PPR scoring in 12 teams. Basically, what this is, in case you don't know, is the Fantasy Pros has something called the perfect draft. It's essentially a redraft of what happened in 2024. So we're basing it on our knowledge of what's going on in what already went on in 2024 in terms of how these guys performed, and trying to draft the perfect team. So for example, we talked about this a little bit off screen, Jesse. Some of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for example, are phenomenal values in drafts.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if we're talking about, from Baker Mayfield to Jalen McMillan to Bucky Irving, those guys are awesome. At the same time, Washington Commanders are also pretty good values. Guys like Cortland Sutton are good values. So there's lots of interesting things that we have to consider here. And of course, you can see the roster settings there. We're one quarterback. We do need to pick a defense. This draft values wide receivers over pretty much everything else. So there's a lot to consider here, and we have to kind of just figure this out on the fly, because I think you get 60 seconds per pick. So we're really going to be running through this pretty quickly. Jesse, initial thoughts here. What are you thinking in terms of also because, and let me scroll down a little bit so everyone can see, also because we have the ability to pick our draft slot. What are you thinking about in terms of where we should draft, who we should draft in the beginning, any sort of strategic thoughts that are going on here?
Yeah, sorry, I'm having a little bit of internet technical difficulties, as you could say. So you were going in slow motion and then really sped up on me, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. But no, yeah, I was looking at my internet's a little wonky right now. I think kind of like us to determine what we're looking at and what we want to prioritize, to your point, because there's going to be values late in drafts, like you talked about the Buccaneers and those guys available. Like, you want to have Baker Mayfield as your QB1, probably don't have to draft them until like the 14th round, like something like that, right? So if we go that route and chase that stack, or we know there's like the Tyrone Tracy's of the world, there's the Lyle McConkey's, there's the freaking Brock Bowers, who was really like, so if we play this right, I think we can just take the best players at certain positions and kind of fill in the rest. What I think is going to be very interesting, if we punt running back, who are we going to take late? Because then it gets really interesting, because if you miss, like, we could be looking at just freaking like Javonte Williams or something, and that sounds abysmal. So there's risk reward to it, right? So I'm excited to see how this goes for us. It should be a lot of fun.
For sure. Yeah, and I think wide receiver is something that is valued highly because of the 3 wide receivers there and the flex, but we're also in half PPR scoring. So something to consider is, a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs or Saquon Barkley, like, those guys go early, but guess what? Those guys are also some of the most valuable running backs that you can draft this season. So I think what we need to do is punt wide receiver. We have a lot of good values, some of which I mentioned earlier, and we can think about how we can roll with that, and also avoid the landmines of like Kyle Pitts and everyone else.
Oh, God.
But here's a question for you now. So in the first round, I'm thinking our ideal pick is Jamar Chase. I can't think of a better first round pick in 1 QB. There's probably a few good ones, but we're probably looking to get Jamar Chase, right?
Yeah, I'd say Jamar Chase or Saquon Barkley, right? Like that. The thing is, I'm not 100% sure where Saquon went in drafts. I think he went back of round 1-ish. Maybe I might, in 1 QB, it might be a little bit. So I'm not sure. I'd say one of those guys And this also comes in what draft slot we select. Because if we select the back of the first, no, I'm pretty sure Chase isn't there. If we go middle, he might be there. Early, obviously, it's anybody we want. So it really depends on where we go, and that's going to kind of separate. If we're in the back, and if Chase is not there, then I'd say we just pivot to Saquon and go for that.
Sure.
Give it a best shot. So would you prefer to go early? You want to go mid, or you want to go late? Because
you're
the one that posted it, so I'll ride with whatever you want to do.
I think I want to go with to try and get Jamar Chase. And if I'm remembering correctly, from ADP, certainly Christian McCaffrey was 1. You probably had Bijan up there as like a 2. And then Tyreek Hill for me was my wide receiver 1. I don't think many people had Jamar Chase 1 because CeeDee Lamb was also a guy who everybody was pumping up as wide receiver 1. So I'm assuming Jamar Chase is wide receiver 3 and at best pick number 4. So do you want to try to go with the 4th pick and see if we can lock in Jamar Chase? Or do you want to stretch it to the 5th pick? What are you thinking?
Yeah, like
let's try and get Jamar.
Well, we had the discussion of the offseason, right? We were debating like Jefferson and Chase as well, kind of in that tier of 1 wide receiver. So I think anywhere in that middle range, I think the limit's probably 7 if we push it, if we really want to. But yeah, 4, I think we can guarantee we'll guarantee to get Jamar Chase because the thirst at running back in 1 QB, everyone's gonna be gobbling them up. So I'm assuming it'll be like we'll go Christian McCaffrey, and then it'll go probably Tyreek Hill, probably CeeDee Lamb. And then it's kind of wherever it goes from there. I'm curious to see. So yeah, if you want to go 4, we can go there, and then we can get ourselves some more Chase. And then
let's do 4 for sure. Love it. And then if not Jamar Chase, we'll probably end up with Saquon. But I think we'll do that again just before we begin this perfect draft. Remember, we're on the clock throughout, so we're going to go through and be running through. Feel free. If you are, watching this live, feel free to throw in some suggestions in the chat. We'll try to talk about that on the fly. But more importantly, after the draft, we'll kind of dissect it and see how we did and how things looked, and maybe some thoughts about how we may attack this next time. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe at Adjust the Ranks. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. Also, the Fantasy Football Universe. Jesse and I run that as well with Essie and Aaron. So please come over. If you like any of this content, we're here all off season for all your fantasy football withdrawal needs. We're not going to rehab for fantasy football. Sorry. So, our families live with this and so do we. Just so you know, in the leaderboard, there's an entire leaderboard that's here as well. You can see some of these names. But you can draft. You can do this here. You can see the link at fantasypros.com for perfect draft. You can just type it in to Google. Not a sponsor. We're just, it's just an interesting, fun thing that they have on their platform. And you can do this as many times as you like and try and get on the leaderboard. So again, just something that's cool, an interesting game, and something to do here in the off season. All right. That is enough of an intro. Are you ready to get us started, Jesse?
Hell yeah, let's do it, baby.
Let's go for Jamar Chase. Here we go. And let's draft.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, all right. So Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill off the board. Jamar Chase is there. You can see kind of, Jesse, you were right, I think. Jamar Chase at 7 right there is really interesting. You see the points from 2023. So this is kind of where they were ranked based on their prior year performance. And then, of course, you see the bye week, which will be interesting because this is almost like a best ball setup where you have to kind of consider the situation. The one thing I didn't mention, Jesse, is that because it's almost like best ball, you're basically taking these guys' best week. So in the beginning of the draft, that's not going to matter. But a guy like Jalen McMillan, who absolutely crushed in the postseason and nowhere else, he's like the perfect later round pick. So we're going to be considering those things. So before I take Jamar Chase, is there anything else you're thinking of? Maybe round 2, 3, middle draft?
You should switch the tab we are broadcasting because right now it shows that we are broadcasting the main page and not the draft. So if that is live, yes. So yeah, that would be helpful for the audience. But outside of that, there we go. That's what we're talking about.
Ooh, we got Jamar Chase.
Fantastic. We got Jamar Chase. For those that are wondering, yes, we took Jamar Chase. And it cycled these computer picks pretty fast, as you can tell. So I'm assuming we're back on the clock. Is that right? So now we got to decide between all these fun guys. I mean, obviously, pre-draft, I was big on Nico Collins. That was pretty good pick, but there's a guy down below. So this is the problem: is these wide receivers are going to be freaking tempting across the board.
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs is probably a really good pick here. There is Mike Evans is a really good pick, or we could go after we could go Kyron if you want. Did he score? Did he outscore Josh Jacobs? I don't know if he did.
Kyron was RB6 on the season.
What was
but Drake London was wide receiver 5, right? So super interesting.
Yeah, Drake London was a really good pick too.
Say again?
I said Drake London was a really good pick too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So 10 seconds. What are we gonna do here?
We're gonna go running back, and you get the next one. I'll get this one. I'm gonna go Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams had just a remarkably consistent season. And Drake London is actually still there for us. But here's the situation, right, Jesse? Because you see our team over here on the left, right? The situation, of course, is that we have to start 3 wide receivers, but we know there's a ton of later round wide receiver value. So what are you thinking about here in terms of round 3? We got Lamar, we got James Cook, we got Drake still there. What are you thinking?
Yeah, like I think if we take a wide receiver here, we're going to punt the hell out of wide receiver for a long time, and we're going to handle the other positions, right? Because it gets really like you're looking across this board. Like I think if we go Drake London, probably wide receiver, and then we take like Joe Mixon the following round. Like Joe Mixon was very good this season, right? So we could go that route, and then that gives us an RB2. And then later on in the draft, because I know we're going to want to target Bucky, he could be like our flex or something, right? So let's go get Drake London here. I think he's the safest. And then if Mixon falls to us, like that's a really good pick.
Agree with that right there. Mixon had a great run out all season, except for the fantasy playoffs.
Hey, don't care about that.
Absolutely killed you in the fantasy playoffs. So we have our 2 wide receivers locked in. I agree with you. We should probably punt wide receiver. If you take a look here, quarterback is not super interesting. You got Burrow, but we have later value in Baker and Daniels. So we'll probably skip there. Running back is interesting with someone like Cook, but Pollard is down there. There are some guys who give you some really nice value. I think we have to punt wide receiver like we talked about. And of course, we have Brock Bowers just sitting there waiting for us to gobble it up. So with 30 seconds left, are you thinking James Cook, or are we looking more like James Conner?
I think Cook outscored Connor. Like because he was healthy the entire year. Connor was good, but Cook had a ton of touchdowns this year, so I think Cook is the safer play.
16 touchdowns.
Yeah, I like Kamara as well too, but he didn't. He fell apart towards the end of the year. So I'd take my boy James Cook and let's ride with it.
That's it. Agree. All right, so through 4 rounds here, and we get the Jason Kelce shirtless celebration on the right-hand side of the screen, which is fantastic. As you can see, we have Kyron, Cook, Chase, and London. If you drafted this way, you won your league. Congratulations. But hindsight is 2020, of course. So if we're punting wide receiver and we know we have quarterback and tight end value on the board, we need to get another running back, Jesse. So what are you thinking here with Chase Brown waiting in the wings, of course, a bit later on? Is there anybody here?
Yeah. I mean, this is the bad part of drafts. If you win through these guys, like Mostert and all those guys, like I really don't want to take a running back here. Like I think this is there's tight end 1, Mr. Tight End 1 himself, George Kittle. Yeah. So we could grab the tight end 1. There's freaking T. Higgins, who was a monster this season, who I think he was top 4 wide receiver, if I remember correctly. Like T. Higgins was dope.
Terry. Where do you want to get Terry? Let's get Terry.
You choose. If you want Terry, take Terry. That's totally fine.
I'm going to get Terry. No, the value's tough there. I didn't really want to get Terry, but I think Kittle will be there on the way back around. He wasn't.
Hopefully.
But Bowers is there. So Kittle is gone.
Yeah.
And now we may have just screwed up the entire thing. What are you looking at now?
Quite possibly. Because we're going to be getting the flex range and stuff. Like we're almost, because we're reaching for the guys that overperformed at this point at the other positions, right? So we need a quarterback, right? Do we reach for Jane Daniels? Because he's basically like QB3. He had massively outperformed all of these guys. Or do we go for Brock Bowers at tight end? I think would probably be, because I think if we push one of these guys, we're probably going to miss, but I'm not 100% sure. Or we could grab a wide receiver as a flex or running back, because there's a lot of good guys lower. It's almost like I want to drop a few rounds. JSN was a very good pick too. Like we could go that route. Lab McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr. Like I want both those guys on our roster, but we're not going to have spots for them is the problem. So I think we can still get Daniels and we can still get Bowers. Do you want to grab one of those wide receivers, or you want to grab the tight end quarterback?
Let's get a wide out. I'll let
It's
you
gotta
choose
be
between Jason.
Jason's fine. Yeah, he was solid.
Jason.
About time.
What?
They gave it to the crowd. Get out of here. Oh, our draft just fell apart.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no
brutal.
longer a perfect draft. No longer.
No,
Oh, well.
definitely not. Our value is going to be abysmal. Okay. We will try to save this. That's what we get for playing it up to the wire, I guess, right?
Yeah,
They're like, no, you didn't get that click anytime. Unlike Sleeper, they don't let us modify that. So, yeah, do we just go take the freaking... Yeah.
This is over. Throw it in the bag.
I know.
I say
it's right over.
Let's do this. Let's get JSN like we were going to.
Okay.
And that let's see if we can wait on Bowers. Because we also need to be getting one of, Chase if Brown not both, Bucky. Chase Brown and Bucky. I think we can wait on Bucky. So I think it's probably JSN. And then we'll see where Bowers is. And then we'll go with Chase Brown. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so here we go. JSN locked in.
Oh, the clap. They're back in. They're back in, folks.
CJ Stroud is going to be sitting on the bench. Hopefully, he had a game or two. I don't know.
Ooh, Chuba was a good pick, too.
Yeah. And look, J-Mo is here as well.
J-Mo.
Wide receiver is deep.
Vlad and BTJ were massively above all of these guys. They're the clear winners of this position, right? So Chase Brown's a really good pick. His ADP is 104. What are the wide receivers? This is all similar range. We're going to miss out one of those guys.
Yes, but we're going to get one of those guys.
What about Bowers? And then what's Bowers' ADP? Bowers is at 93. So he's the first one off the board. So do we need to go Bowers and then just whoever falls between the wide receiver and running back? Take one of those guys?
We can't miss Bowers, but we can get Jonnu. That's the thing, right?
We can't. I know that's the thing. Yeah. So what would you rather do? And Njoku had a good run too. A lot of these guys were fine, but Bowers was just
let's get Bowers. I think we can pick up Jonnu later because he can be flex worthy some weeks. And we're absolutely going to have to get maybe 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because it's looking so bad. Gone? Baker. It's Baker and Bo, maybe. It's Baker and Bo. It's looking.
Should we get you want to go Chase Brown or you want to go Lad McConkey because they're both on the board?
Brown.
Yeah, there's still a ton of Lad. Ooh, Lad's right there too. I guess it doesn't really matter because they're a bench player. So should we just pair up those rookie running backs like Chase Brown and Bucky later on?
The thing about Chase Brown is he, Zach Moss was involved for a little bit, right? But Chase Brown absolutely had a nice run out to the end of the season. I'm going to let you choose here. We have 4 wide receivers and 2 running backs, but we know there's value late for both of these guys. So who would you prefer? Would you prefer to get Chase Brown or Lad?
Let's go Chase Brown just because he plays running back position and he can fill in when we need him for, Kyron and Cook.
Yeah, totally agree.
And there goes Lad right after. That's too bad.
Yeah. CJ Stroud killing me. Oh, man.
CJ Stroud. There's Bucky. He's well down the list. 172. So we could probably wait another round on Bucky. J.K. Dobbins is a good pick, too. We also need a freaking quarterback desperately in this room.
But we're just gonna do quarterback late.
Jared Goff would be a good one late too. He's gonna be super consistent. What do you want to do? You want to go just Rashichi? He'd had some really good blow up weeks early on in the season. You could do him. Yeah, but I think you do Darnell Mooney. Yeah, wide receiver falls off real quick. Yeah, but it's not bad. Let's just. I almost want to reach for Bucky to make sure we get him. That's the thing. But he's 172. We could probably wait another round. Yeah. So what do you want to do? You want to get some more boom weeks at tight end? You want to go quarterback? What do you want to do?
How big of a boom week was Dobbins? Is it worth getting Charbonnet for the few booms, or do we get Dobbins?
I'd rather get Dobbins. I think we'll have more.
Let's get Dobbins and then probably Bucky.
Yeah. If we go with Bucky, and then we'll just go quarterback to run it out. Yeah.
The other thing to consider is this is half PPR as well.
Yeah.
So with that flex, and with Bowers, I wonder if we even need a second tight end at this point because we have 4 more players and a defense to pick.
Should we? You want to do Bucky right here, or you want to go?
Baker's still there.
Baker and Goff are still there, and Knicks. Yeah, we're fine. Yeah. Should we just get Bucky?
Yeah, I think let's get Bucky here. Yeah, that's totally makes sense. I'm gonna milk another 15 seconds.
Ooh, Judy's not a bad pick either. So
Judy's actually a great pick.
I'll let you pick whichever
Judy. Let's get Judy. I think we'll come back around with Jalen McMillan at the end.
Yeah.
And then I think Bucky is the next pick because let me not mess around
10
here.
seconds. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Fucking CJ Stroud.
Just brutal.
Ooh, and defenses are going off the board, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bucky. It's perfect. Look at that. You set that up so well. And then there's Tracy too, even.
Let's think about, we'll get Bucky, but we have about, 30 seconds here. What are we thinking in terms of defenses? I know the Eagles overperformed. The Houston Texans were getting sacks, especially late. Tampa Bay and the Saints had some good games. Do we want a double stack defense, or do we just want to go with someone like, I don't know, Detroit Lions?
Wasn't Denver's defense really good too? Like,
all the way down here.
They're late. We could go Denver, Bo Nix, and get like both of those, so we get the upside of that later. But yeah, like that's the hard part about defense because like I did not pay near enough attention to it. I know the Vikings were really good, but it's also close scoring wise. Like they're usually within a point or two of each other. So.
And the thing is, when you have the singleton positions, right, you're going to have a bye week, so you want to try to eliminate those zeros. Like the one CJ Stroud is going to give you. So, so with 2 roster spots left, do we want to try and get Jonnu here? Do we want? I think running back. We're probably okay with 5 running backs.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Judy fills in a wide receiver for us because we have 4 wide receivers. Or wait, no, we have 5 because we have the 3.
We have 5.
Right?
I think we're probably done at wide receiver.
We're fine. Yep.
So let's do this because no one's picking Jonnu. Let's do this. Which quarterback do you want here? I would say Baker because he did have some blow up weeks, but he also finished QB 4 or 5 on the season.
Yeah. His like end of season stretch was absurd. I don't know how much of that was regular season and mainly was postseason, but I think he's got some monster weeks. Like, let's go Baker.
Yeah. All right. So we got Baker. Ideally, we'd have Bo Nix, but CJ Stroud is going to kill us in these rankings. Damn it.
Yes.
But look at this. Justin Herbert is still there. Like, just interesting options at quarterback for the next time we inevitably do this draft. We may have to do a second one here. We may have to come back, Jesse, and just
run it back
real
and
quick.
Revamp the CJ Stroud pick. Oh, goodness gracious. What a terrible pick. Did you want to do
we want to get, I think we should probably get Jonnu. Or do we want to get 2 defenses? That's the question. Do we want
like we go like Broncos Vikings or something in defenses? Like if we're trying to go 2, I'm trying to think of like 2 as long as they don't have the same bye week, which I'm not 100% sure if they do, because I'm trying to think of the best scoring defenses. I know Minnesota was really good throughout the year. Outside of the Ravens game, I think the Broncos were really good. I know that game they got destroyed.
Well,
but like outside of that, Eagles are probably good too.
All right, let's take the Broncos here for sure, and then let's regroup. Do we get Jonnu? Or do we get? We got the John Cena hat tip. Do we want a second defense, or do we want Jonnu or Jalen McMillan? I think McMillan is out.
Yeah, we don't need that wide receiver. I don't think he's going to play. Yeah, I mean, if we want, because we're going to take a hit at either defense or tight end.
Rams had a lot of sacks.
Chargers were decent too. I think probably Vikings were the best of the group. Were they?
Yeah, Vikings.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, like points per game wise or scoring. I think they're all within very close. Like, I'm pretty sure Broncos were top scoring, and then outside of that, it's kind of a mystery. So, as long as they don't have the same bye week as the Broncos, which is week 14, right? So as long as that's not a problem, it could be good.
Which is week.
So
14.
We go that, or we go Jonnu. Like so.
All right. For right now, let's leave Bowers locked in, and we will go with the Minnesota Vikings, the week 6 bye, and we will wrap up our draft with freaking CJ Stroud.
Okay. Ooh, good score though. 2-6-1.
Not
Stroud
too bad,
us, man. Goodness gracious.
Man. We would have done well. All right, let's take a look though. We'll load our analysis here, but yeah, I really wonder what that looks like without CJ Stroud. But I think we had a fair play. You see kind of the top players here. Jamar Chase is a must for me if you're not getting Saquon. One of those 2 guys you have to get. As you can see, top scoring wide receiver, top scoring tight end, top scoring DST. Good call on the Broncos. And then Baker, of course, finished as the QB4 and Terry as the QB6. So, yeah, surprise, surprise. CJ Stroud was a draft bust for us there. But this is a pretty good run out, Jesse. We got Baker, we got Jamar, we got Kyron, we got James Cook. I mean, outside of the CJ Stroud pick, I'm really happy with how this went. How do you feel?
Yeah, this is a good draft. If we knew what we know going into the season, like on this, you probably wouldn't be too happy with this team going into the season because there's a lot of questions about James Cook, Kyron Williams. People were unsure, like Brock Bowers. People were like, I don't know, he's got no quarterback, right? So our team, people would probably hate this team leaving drafts with. They'd be like, oh, I don't like that. That's gross. Who's your wide receiver room? Oh, you got Terry McLaurin. You guys are idiots.
Yeah, exactly. Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's just really asking for a beat down. So I imagine the grades would have given us probably like an F, like on Yahoo or whatever. They'd be like, "Your draft sucks. You should not draft again." Like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So yeah, I think overall, like, this is a really good team. Outside of Baker, do you think there's somewhere we could, or not Baker, excuse me, outside of Stroud, do you think there's somewhere in particular we could have done a little bit better? I mean, obviously we'll have the bye week for Bowers in week 10 where he puts up a 0. So it's kind of just like,
here's the interesting one, right? If you look at Baker, and this is why I'm trying to look at this, you look at some of the deficiencies. So week 1 is a deficiency, week 6 and week 4, right? But Baker did incredibly well in those weeks, right? So we don't necessarily need to worry about second quarterback. Obviously, someone like a Bo Nix is a much, much better pick, or your guy, Jared Goff, because he went off multiple times this season for 3-4 touchdowns. But also a guy like Jameson Williams is interesting, right? If we start thinking about best ball, where we can find those spikes. Now, I don't know if he spiked in week 1. I think he did.
I think
but
he did.
Weeks 1, 4, 6, I mean, those are interesting ones where you see someone like Bowers, right? We only had one tight end, and you see Bowers run out to the beginning of the season. But then, of course, he came on later on. Tight end is empty in week 10, so that hurt us. But you can see Brock Bowers here with good, Jonnu Smith would be, I think, a really interesting late round compliment to him. Or, instead of CJ Stroud there, George Kittle was right in that range. So that's a possibility as well. But yeah.
Kittle was a monster down the stretch too. I think he would have been the perfect complement to Bowers and what he was doing. Because how the weeks kind of alternate between the two of them.
For sure.
I think Bride's probably I would like to look at scoring and make a better decision. But yeah, off the top of my head, I think they would work really well together.
Yep, totally agree. And then, we don't need to look at the draft board or the analysis, but I think we should do it one more time, Jesse. The question is, do you want to do it from the 4 spot again and re-roll and just do a full-on redo, or do you want to pick maybe a 5-6, still get Jamar Chase and really, really hammer it from that spot and get, for example, if you look here, you're not going to get Travis Etienne, but maybe you get a shot at Puka. You know what I mean?
Look at the back end of the draft. I think that'd be interesting because you're hammering Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley in that area. You're getting 2 of those guys. And Jahmyr Gibbs was RB2. Derrick Henry was top 5. Saquon Barkley was RB1, right? So you could hammer those running backs if we wanted, and we completely switch up our build and see how it goes. And then we target other positions. I think that could be, if you want to try that, if you're up for that. I'm looking at round 3, how that would go. And you can kind of just play this board as it lies, right? Or if we wanted the Rashee Rice, the early season, he had a lot of good weeks, right? He dies. Same with Chris Godwin, both of those guys. Yeah. So, you kind of play it as lies. So it'd be fun to do.
I would say 10 or 11, we can lock in 2 of those 3 running backs, I would assume, between Saquon, Gibbs, and Henry. Do you want 10 or 11, or do you want to just play the turn?
Let's just play the turn. I always enjoy the turn. It's a little bit more interesting, right? It's a little bit more treacherous. So we just probably swap Henry with Saquon, call it a day, and start from there because Saquon was better than Henry. So yeah, let's do it. Let's give it a shot.
All right, so we'll run it back. Hopefully, we will not auto pick CJ Stroud this time.
Yes, we just got to pick it before the timer runs out. Yes.
And before I hit start, is there anything else that you're thinking about just generally in terms of the later round build? I think Brock Bowers is probably a must, but it was really interesting to see. I would say roughly half of his games were below 8 points in half PPR scoring. So, I mean, maybe someone like Trey McBride, though he didn't score any touchdowns. Maybe someone like Jonnu Smith is more interesting, or we just make sure we get after George Kittle.
I think because Kittle gets a bigger boost in half PPR because like the receptions are what carried Bowers and McBride, right? Kittle got the boom spike weeks and the touchdown. So I think he's a bigger edge of the position. We have to draft him earlier. I'm not sure we have to draft him probably around 5, round 6. But if we can get him maybe on the turn there, that locks up our tight end position. And then we could, like you talked about, maybe we can get Jonnu because he had some monster weeks too. So I'm trying to think of another tight end if we're doing that right. Otten. And then maybe we just roll with Otten's are probably a good one too. Like, I don't know. Yeah. The hard part is we have to line these weeks up just right with like a best ball, right? So we kind of have to like thread that needle. We'll see if we can do it. It'll be fun. I don't know if we can, but we're going to try. We did pretty good last time. Even with CJ Stroud just destroying our build.
Just crushed it. Biggest bust of the fantasy football season, I think, was our award winner for biggest bust. So
yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Couldn't have been a worse pick. Question, because is there one guy who you really want to get? Because the one guy who I really want to get on this team is Jameson Williams. If we can, just an absolute, week wrecker. What, 5 weeks this season? So,
yeah, I think if we're chasing boom week, like we should probably add T. Higgins to this list. Yeah, because T. Higgins had some monster weeks. Like obviously, Jamar Chase had the monster weeks. Like that. I mean, I get it with like Malik Neighbors. He's probably not going to be available. I'm just trying to think of guys that score. Brian Thomas Jr., we should probably make sure he's on this team because he had boom weeks. You go further down the list, I guess it depends where you want to go. But like to your point, Jameson Williams, I know he had a couple really good weeks. So he would find a way into our lineup a few times, right? Which is much better than like JSN, who doesn't have as many boom weeks. True. So we can kind of just, determine where we want to go. And then, go.
Let's try 2 running backs, like we said, from the 12. And based on last draft, that should be possible. And then if we lock those down, maybe we just wait on the Tyrone Tracy, Bucky Irving, and then see what happens at wide receiver in like the, those early to middle rounds with who's left, and then make sure we get like BTJ Ladd, who we were targeting last time anyway. Make sense?
Yeah, I think with the running backs, we should probably pick 2 of the 3 between like Chuba Hubbard, Bucky Irving, like Tyrone Tracy, like the Chase Brown, those type of guys. Like get 2 of those guys. So that gives us 4 hammer running backs, right? Yeah. And then we kind of just get these really boom bust wide receivers. Maybe we get a Rashid Shaheed early who is going nuclear, or Rashee Rice or T. Higgins. One of the, like we just chase the upside and see where it goes for us, because that's the ideal goal of this draft, right? We're trying to fill out the weeks the best as possible.
All right. Let's get it done. Here we go from the 12, and I will switch it right away. Let's draft.
Let's go.
All right.
There he is.
From the 12 spots.
You got it's back to back. Look at that. It's just meant to be the top 2 running backs. Hey, welcome. Welcome to the team, guys.
But Puka's there, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do running back 1 and running back 3, or was Gibbs running back 2 in the season?
He was good. He was RB2.
Okay. Man. Studley. It's really hard to bypass Puka, but of course Puka only had 11 games this season?
Yeah, like unfortunately that is true. Like in half PPR, I think Puka was top 5-ish wide receiver. And it was more like post the injury when he returned post bye week. So yeah, like he went nuclear during that stretch. So he would be in our lineups all this like half the year. And like Mike Evans. So yeah, we can go that. And, I mean, if we really want to go the 2 RB builds, I think that's the safest. We go to Gibbs, or if you want to go Puka, I'll let you pick them either. They're both really good picks.
No,
so I'm not going
we're gonna go Gibbs. Puka's a great pick, but Gibbs played all season, and especially at the end of the season went off, which is interesting because Barkley had a few good games at the end of the season, but I think his better games were in the middle of the season. So you got Barkley in the middle of the season, you got Gibbs late. And then obviously you're rolling at running back. We'll see who falls. Maybe we go RB in a half PPR team. We'll see what happens, but let's pick Gibbs and we'll roll on to round 3.
That'll be interesting. Yeah. Do you want to chase the ceiling of like Lamar? If I don't know if he's going to be here available or not. Oh no, there he goes. That answers that question.
Oh, he's gone.
Possible. He is gone. It gets interesting here. Like we talked about with these. So that means Drake London probably went, huh?
Yeah, London just went.
All right.
I think.
Looking at these picks here, it does not look ideal, any of these guys. I mean, Mixon's probably pretty solid.
Got some guys
Neighbors
down here.
Would probably be a very good pick at the wide receiver room. He did have a little bit of a boom bust, but like he had some really good weeks. But yeah, it's a good option. Just as long as we avoid CJ Stroud, I think we'll be fine. I think, honestly, the stuff with Neighbors, he's going to give you a high floor in best ball each and every week, right? Because he had all the receptions. So he's probably a pretty safe pick.
I would go. I agree. I would go Neighbors. You don't want to go tight end yet. And then who are you going to get? James Cook? He could. You go RBR. So I would do Cook or Neighbors. You can probably get Neighbors next round.
Do you think? Well, I mean, we're getting back-to-back picks here, right?
I'm going to go James Cook just because 4 seconds is running down. Now we got 3 running backs, Jesse. Let's forget running back for a while.
Yeah, we're good for a while.
Neighbors is still there. Oh, because we're back-to-back.
Yeah.
Of course.
I was like, wait a second. Where'd he go? Yeah, let's grab we can grab Neighbors or Terry because one of these guys, these guys are all going to be gone, right, by the time they get back. So we have to decide which wide receiver had more booms and will be in more lineups. Because, I know Neighbors, I think he outscored him on the points per game basis. I'm pretty sure he did. And Neighbors,
5, 6, 7, something like that, both of them.
Yeah, and let's go Neighbors. I think he's just safer than Terry. Yeah, let's get Neighbors.
I think Terry will be there as well. I think you can go Neighbors,
that would
Terry,
be nice.
BTJ, and then just lock those 3 guys down in the next 3 picks. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we gotta, after we pick Neighbors here, because it's going to snake all the way back around, we probably need to get Kittle on the next selection we go. So at the end of the round, if he's still there, I don't know if he's there now, but if he is,
he might be. Terry's gone. Kittle's there.
Right. Yeah, let's grab Kittle. We need to get him on the roster.
All right, so we're going to get Kittle, but then where's BTJ? There he is.
He's down. He's with Ladd. Yeah.
I think we got another round on BTJ.
Do you want to put JSN in the starting lineup as our wide receiver 2, or we can get somebody like Burrow? I think because we basically want a guy to balance out each position at the 1Z position. So we're gonna need someone to balance out Kittle. We're gonna need someone to balance out our quarterback. So do we want to get a stud quarterback early, or do we want to just go Kittle and then get our wide receiver 2 here? Because it really depends on if we think we can get to the wide receivers.
I think we want to get Jaden Daniels if we can. So I would get Kittle here and lock him in. And I'm going to do that right now. And then it's going to come around. And I think what happens. Oh, sorry. So we're on the 5-6 turn.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in a quarterback yet. I think Daniels BTJ is next round for us.
The next one. So do you want to go? I mean, we took JSN last time. There's also Godwin there if we really want to chase the early, but we're going to lose half the season with him. And that's the hard part with these guys.
Yeah, but you make it up with BTJ, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, you could do a lot of that. There's also no, I definitely don't want to do Rushy. We'll do Jameson. Yeah, JSN's later, so it's I think with Godwin, he was good. Is he even on Poacher Game? We'll get probably 4 or 5 games out of him, Godwin.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
So
I like it.
Let's try it.
And we have what 3 running backs, but let's try it.
Yeah.
It's
just silent. We got nothing. Okay.
Star Trek is not impressed.
No, he said, I don't know about that.
But JSN is still there. So what we wanted to happen happened. The thing is, I think Chase Brown, Chuba, I think these guys wait
another round or 2 on those guys.
But we need Jaden Daniels, I think, as well.
Where is he at?
Yeah,
he's right there, 95.
So we have to pick him.
Let's pull the trigger on Jaden Daniels and then decide who else we want on this. We have the tight end for now. We can wait till Jonnu or someone right at the last pick. So I think we'll be fine.
I would reach on BTJ only because he was wide receiver 4. I think he was awesome. And I'm going to take him before Jaden Daniels because we got back-to-back picks, and why not?
Yeah, that's enough.
Both of those guys have been studs. So after we take them, just to be clear, we have 1, 2, 3 running backs. So we have no bench players yet. 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers. So really our starting lineup is filled out, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we need to start looking at some of those value running backs and see how long we can wait on the Bucky Irvings and Chase Browns. Then also see if Ladd is available as well. Because I think we're probably locked into Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get either if it's Bo Nix or someone, a backup quarterback, a backup tight end, as long as we have those guys on the roster. And then, I love it. We're back in on our draft. So we just have to kind of see what we're going to kind of minimize, and that's if we go 1 defense. If we want 2 defenses, we could roll with that. It's just we're going to have to minimize something.
Yeah, Chuba's interesting.
Chuba's a really good pick.
Yeah.
But we don't really need him. I think we should because if we drafted Godwin, I think we should get more shots at wide receiver.
There's
Just
Lad.
because we're missing out and Lad's a really good pick. Let's get Lad. Let's lock him in.
We're gonna get Lad. Do you want to do like Lad Judy?
I think that's probably a really good way to go. I'm trying to think who else would be available in this range that outscored those guys. I don't know. Like
so I'll
Addison was solid, but he's probably gone. Yeah, I mean we can get. I mean, but if do you want to pass up the really late Jonnu is the question. Like, do you think Bowers gives us more booms than like Jonnu?
No, Jonnu's giving us more booms. Sorry. So let me go get Lad right now.
Maybe someone like
round.
Where are these wide receivers at? Yeah, where's Cortland Sutton? He's probably gone. I'm trying to think of guys like, you know what I mean?
Mooney is later. The only guy, I think. Yeah, QJ, honestly. QJ was like very cheap. Cortland Sutton. He's more consistent, I think, than Boom because I think he scored like in his last 9 games, like 6 touchdowns in his last 9 games. So
yeah, 100%.
So he's someone else we can look to late. But how many wide receivers do we have? 4. I mean, it might be worth it to grab one of our guys, whether it's Chuba. You think we should go Chuba, Bucky in the next 2 picks? We're going to have a long layout, but I think Bucky will be there. What do you think?
I think because we're at pick what? We're on the 7th round right now. So we're at the 701. That's
no.
We're in the 8th?
In the 1001.
Oh.
But I'm going to go ahead and get Chuba here since we're running down. Yep.
Okay.
Talk to me.
Let's see. Yeah, we probably need a couple more. Like, how many spots do we have available?
Bucky went.
Bucky went. What's our bench looking right now? Because that's what I'm curious about. So we got
Lad and Chuba.
3 spots still. 3 spots available.
Bucky went. 4 and a DST.
4 and a defense. All right. So we have to figure this out. We're gonna need another quarterback.
Yeah, but we got time.
I don't know. We can do that late with Baker. Like that's totally fine. We get Baker, that locks that up.
We got 4
Tracy's
running backs.
Bad.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we could wait on Tracy, maybe wait a few picks for him.
Agreed.
And then just
Judy.
Let's just get some upside. Judy's a really good pick. And heck, you can even go Thielen after him too if you want to. Or Mooney. Any one of those guys is fine.
Judy had so many boom weeks though with Jameis.
Especially in the middle of the season.
And with really DTR at the end as well. I think Judy is the pick for sure.
Yeah, we can even like grab an Alec Pierce late or something because I know he had a couple of monster weeks, right? Like we could do something like that.
Ridiculous weeks.
I'm not sure how many monster weeks Thielen had. That's the confusing thing. Like I know he had some good weeks. I just don't know how. Like
Bowers is still here.
Still there? What the hell? I mean, it's getting really hard to turn him down.
I think we almost have to not take any more wide receivers and running backs. I think if we get Bowers, he becomes a flex for many weeks, right? And then that way you're probably covered, and we have 5 wide receivers in 3 spots who were excellent.
Because the ideal best ball builds are usually going to be heavy wide receivers, right? So like that's we can get Bowers still fun, and then we don't worry about tight end, we don't touch it, and then we just have to get in our quarterback.
Yep.
I think we're gonna have. I mean, we can just grab a second defense too if we're really worried about it, right? So we have Bowers, Kittle. We have 3 spots, right? So I think we should get at least 1 more wide receiver.
Yep.
We need a quarterback.
And
then
we need
a defense.
1 defense.
2 defenses.
Yeah. So we don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Because 1 more wide receiver, it's like, who is it going to be? You know what I mean? I mean, like you said, it would be Thielen. Mooney. It would be,
McMillan late if you want to go that.
Marcus, I mean, no. I think QJ, honestly, or Darnell Mooney is probably the best there. Tracy is still available, but I think we got to get our QB here, and then we'll decide what we're doing because we're on the turn here.
Let's grab Baker. I feel the best.
Baker, I agree. Baker over Knicks.
Yeah, I think he outscored him, right? And he had really boom weeks.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think. Baker and Jaden both had a phenomenal week 17, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I can't remember the. Let's do Baker.
That's the hard part. We don't have like the sheet that tells us exactly what it is. So we got Baker, right? So basically, we have what we're doing 2 defenses that we need to decide. If we're not, I think we just go top skill position players.
Well, we know
we know
you
can take them.
Denver. We know Denver, but we got Tracy as an option. I think that's probably not the best thing to do with Tyrone Tracy. I think we're fine with 4 running backs with 2 running back slots.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because the whole reason we took Bowers is he's there as a safe flex.
Yeah, those good 2 defenses.
Yeah,
because we're just trying to raise the score that we're going to get, right? So if there's a couple weeks that Denver did not do well, like that Broncos week is going to kill us in the score. So I think we almost have to get our defense, or excuse me, the Ravens week, because they got eviscerated against the Ravens that week. So we have to find another defense to pair with them to avoid that, to raise the floor scoring from that week. So I'm not sure which defense it's going to be. Maybe it's the Vikings, maybe it's like the Steelers or something if they're available, but
Buccaneers, I know, had an interesting end of this season. They had a few boom games, but I'm struggling to think about the Eagles because I know they were crushing early on and mid-season. Yes. Later, there was a bit of a struggle. There was some weird,
we can take him.
Jaden Daniels absolutely crushed him with 5 passing touchdowns. But I'm just trying to think of teams that limited the opposing teams. Like the Detroit Lions late were awesome, even though they were absolute crap early in the season.
Right.
I would say Eagles, Rams, Vikings. Who do you lean?
I'll just probably take the Eagles. They're the best group of that bunch, so I feel the safest with them. So let's just do it and see what works out.
All right.
Ooh, our score went up a little bit.
We did better.
Woo, not bad. Not bad.
By 100 points.
I feel better about that. It helps when you don't have CJ Stroud on the roster and you get a backup. We're chasing perfection here, Jamie. That's what we're doing. We're trying to recreate the perfect draft in best ball from 2024 season. So we're picking round to round, see how that goes. Top 16%, we'll take it. Not too shabby. Hey. I think we could end up getting into the top 5% if we kept working on this and like tinkering with it a little bit, right? Because then we know the spots. Like if we look at our starting lineup, we're like, where are the weak spots? You just sub a guy in for that, and it kind of works.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Malik Neighbors, I think, was a fine pick. He was a steal. But I wish we hadn't drafted him. Yeah, it's calling Chris Godwin a reach. Obviously, he's wide receiver 54. But hey, you live and you learn. I think that was probably the biggest misstep for us. But he probably does give us a few boom weeks. The thing is, Godwin here, 1, 2, 3.
Weeks. He's in 3 weeks. Yeah, we're fine. 4. Yeah, he's in week 5 as well.
9.1. Yeah. Oh, but here, 30. Okay. Not so bad for Godwin, but obviously
he made a good amount of lineups.
Yeah,
we just gotta find out to like minimize all the bad weeks. The Brian Thomas. Week 6, we just really struggled at wide receiver.
Yeah,
McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr. with.
Look at this.
Yeah, I know that is some rough. We would need a wide receiver, a couple wide receivers stepping in there.
So, but Jesse, our Bowers Kittle experiment worked. Look at this. Boom. How many times are they in the flex? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it just 4? Oh my goodness. Only 4 times in the flex. That's crazy. Because that's almost a useless pick, right? Because look, 8.1 here. Bowers was available late, but I wonder if if Kittle's points offset
that's the thing.
Taking Brock Bowers.
You're trying to get the peak. So you're trying to find, since we took Bowers late, he ended up in the starting lineup at least 2, 3, 4. Like you could scroll down, you're probably fine. He'd probably be in our starting lineup like 6 or 7 times, which is pretty good for where we got him. 5, 6.
Looks like
7,
close to 10 times.
8.
Close to 10 times.
That's actually really good, like a pairing between the two of these guys, because then you're basically finding the high floor each and every week between them. So I think lining those two up, knowing what we know is about the best way you can go. Maybe you can get McBride and offsets a little bit differently, right? But you just find the guys that gave you the spike week. So that's where these wide receiver weeks, there's a couple of them. It's like the week 5, week 6. Those are really killing us. The week 10, those are rough ones there. So you kind of like, you see it, but if you pick other guys, it's going to offset different weeks. So that's where you kind of have to like use a master sheet almost to get this right perfectly, because it's going to be very hard to get it perfect. But they're really good job. Top 16%. I'm fine with that. It's good.
Agree. Listen, we're doing the best. It wasn't perfect, but hey, nobody's perfect, I guess. But it is at least a fun and interesting process, and you can play this hundreds of times. I think there's actually the contest they're running. I read this yesterday, is open until February 3rd. So they're running, Fantasy Pros running an official contest here to figure out, who is the best at this. And there's a whole leaderboard here, which I'll show you. Once again, let's share this tab. You can do my drafts. Here's the 2 drafts that Jesse and I did. You can view your leaderboard if this ever loads. Yeah, so there's our drafts. You can check the analysis as well, average score. Like, it's really just an interesting, fun experiment and a good reflection on the prior season. And then you see all the guys who are the all, and then even the masters list, and you can check them out by what slot they drafted from. So, and the masters list actually takes your total composite from all 12 draft slots to try and put you on the leaderboard. So super interesting setup here. And Jesse, I will drop the link in the chat for you in just, sorry, Jamie. Oh yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. I put it in there. Just look in the chat. It's in there, Jamie.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Jesse, for that. But yeah, listen, that was the perfect draft challenge. We'll see if we do some more of this. I mean, it's at least a fun experiment and something interesting to do in the doldrums of the off season while we wait for, the fantasy playoffs, and we watch the Super Bowl and, get all interested in that and kind of away from fantasy, and then start to pivot immediately to dynasty season. If you are pivoting immediately to dynasty season, pivot to Adjust the Ranks. We're on YouTube, we're on TikTok. As long as that still exists for the next couple of days, check us out there. We're over on X at Adjust the Ranks. You can like and follow. We do weekly mocks. So this week we decided to keep it in-house because I know everybody's busy and not totally thinking about fantasy. But we'll pivot again to do a mock draft probably next week with a lot of users involved. So just like and follow at Adjust the Ranks over on Twitter for all the information about that. And before we get out of here, Jamie always coming with the questions. Jamie says, Downs way over Swift in Dynasty, or am I too low on Swift? This shouldn't have been a question even midway through this season, Jesse, but I think it's a question now. Josh Downs is like 23 years old, but Swift has a shot at a decent season again next year.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so tough with Swift. Like, I just don't think he's a good running back. That's always been my biggest issue with Swift, is like the Achilles heel is his lack of vision, and you see it at the second level. Well, what's funny is I'm going to pivot to talking about the ESPN article that was talking about the 3 agencies that have 40%, or they have 40 of the 64 head coaching and GM jobs. Crazy. The freaking Bears keep going back to the same agency. And they're like, hey, you got any more other guys we can hire or sign? Like, yeah, let's do that. And you're just like, nuts, bro. Like, what? And because remember how shocked we were when Swift was like the first running back off the board. Yeah, there's the Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry available, and they were like, no, we want DeAndre Swift, and we're all like, crazy. Are you watching what we see? Yeah. So, Swift's getting older. He's about to like leave his prime age, right? So if you want to get out from him, I think this is a good time to move off from him. With Downs, the insulation is there. If you could, I would personally rather just do like an early second if I can get either one of those guys and live with that. But yeah, I'll take Downs just because the safety build on that, and I know what I'm getting. It's fine because like I don't think Swift's going to be a difference-making running back. Is more my issue with it. But if you want to go with Swift, like it's fine. Like I don't think either guy is going to be a top 12 guy. Like I don't think that in the range of outcomes for either one of these guys, right? But in the end of the day, I just want to bet a more talented player, and I think Downs is a more talented player. So if he was in a good wide like situation with a quarterback, like we would love Downs, right? Because everything about him screams really good player. Oh yeah, it's just the end interesting. But they're bringing in competition. Somebody's going to come and give them competition. So that happens. You never know. So I think the upside shot is Downs, and I think actually the floor is Downs. So yeah, I would take Downs. But yeah, if you want to go Swift, and Jeremy, if you like Swift, yeah, go for it. Like it's no, I don't think it's really either way.
I don't like Swift. But what are you trying to do, right? Are you trying to win next year? Because the Colts are going to try to win next year as well. And the best chance that they have here is getting Anthony Richardson right. I don't know what that means. I don't know how that happens. But, whoever they bring in, whether it's a vet, like let's say it's like a Gardner Minshew type player who comes in and is good enough to start and to win some games, but obviously isn't the guy you want leading the franchise. That's kind of what they were trying to do with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was just too good for a while there and kept winning. But then you have Josh Downs here, who, like you said, is a good player. He's clearly the player that you want in Dynasty. The problem is he's probably irrelevant until they move on from Richardson, which is not going to be next year because they're going to try again next year. They have to. And then, when does Downs become relevant? 2-3 years down the road? So, no, I do want Downs, but I just don't think there's any value there right now. and it could be a while before he recoups that. Plus, the usage at the end of the season was so weird, Jesse. It was so weird. I can't explain.
This is and you're talking about DeAndre Swift, who never had good, quote unquote, good usage, right? Like he had a few weeks, but it's just been all. Yeah. So I think, and the way the market views these, that's also like when I'll take in the rankings, like the market and how they view these two players. If you talk to people about Swift and you talk to people about Downs, you get massively different reactions, kind of what Jamie's talking about. So I think it's a safer play if you don't think. And by the way, Downs outscored Swift like 13.1 to 12.6 points per game. But it's like, to Jeremy's point, it's the same points per game. Next year it's probably the same scenario, right? Maybe Downs could get to 15 points a game. That's interesting. I don't see that with Swift. Like, unless that offense dramatically increases, they score a ton of touchdowns. But like, Chicago's probably gonna bring in a running back. Like that's probably gonna happen, right? So it's I think it's just the safety side's down. But at the end of the day, it's neither one of them is gonna make much of a difference for you. More than likely, is the outcome.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So, Jamie, as always, appreciate you and your questions, and we will talk to you next time. We will talk to all of you next time. Thanks for joining us for the perfect draft. That was a little less than perfect, but we'll get there. And if you want to try, just go out on Fantasy Pros. Cool thing to do in the offseason. So for Jesse, I am Jeremy. And for the whoever the RB1 is in Chicago, because it's probably not any of the guys on the roster right now. It's probably whoever they draft. We'll see what the hell happens. But we'll see you next time. And let's end it here.
Thank you for watching another video from Adjust the Ranks. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all these platforms for ranks, mocks, and more. And we will see you next time.
I hate that outro.